Hey guys, tonight we're diving into something you probably never expected to care about. How medieval Chinese farmers named their ducks. That's the story. Trust me, it's better than you think. All are about to step into a world where ducks have family trees, naming ceremonies, and even market aliases. A world where misnaming a duck could spark a village feud, and where a name might just change the taste of its meat, or so people believed. But be warned, it's muddy, it's noisy, and if you don't learn fast, your first duck might run off and never come back. Who might not even survive your first week here. Socially, at least. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And, hey, drop a comment below with your city and what time it is right now. I love seeing where and where you're all tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. All wake up with the roosters, but the ducks are louder. They honk. They stomp. They're already lined up at the edge of the little clay courtyard, pecking at your door, demanding their morning routine. You stumble out barefoot, still half asleep, and they scatter like gossip. Your first job? Get them down to the river. All herd them down a narrow mud path, past millet fields and hanging corn cobs, until you reach the stream. They know the way better than you, but tradition says you need to walk them anyway. Something about building trust. The village elder watches from under his straw hat. Name that new clutch yet? He asks. You freeze. Ooh, clutch, 6 ducklings born last night. You forgot to name them in this village. That's a problem. Naming ducks isn't just a task. It's practically a ritual. Names aren't random, they follow patterns. Timing, weather, parentage, even which day of the lunar month they hatch. And if you mess it up, people notice. Was thinking maybe something simple like Spot or Pebble? The elder spits. You're not naming a rock. Oh, you learn the rules. For one, names must be callable. That means no hard-to-pronounce nonsense. Every syllable has to cut through the wind and ripple across water. You try shouting Pebble across the pond, and the ducks ignore you. You try Tower, and foreheads swivel immediately. It's sharp, it carries, it means something. Second rule, never reuse a name from the last 3 broods. That's disrespectful, not to the ducks, but to the previous owners. Each name has a spirit, you're told. Use it twice and the first one gets confused. May or may not be metaphorical. There's a third rule too. Seasonal naming. Spring ducklings often get hopeful names, like Bloomy or Lucky Grain. But if your duck hatches during a solar eclipse, well, you might need to call it something somber, like Yimfluff. You laugh at that one, until you see someone actually write it down, brush and ink, into the duck registry. Is a duck registry. It's a scroll in the community shrine, managed by a toothless woman named Granny Moo. She has 27 grand ducks. She knows every duck name in living memory. You make the mistake of suggesting a name that was used 5 years ago. She throws a sandal at you. Use your brain, not your beak, she says. But it's not all rules and scolding. There's joy in it too. You finally pick a name that fits. A little black-feathered duckling you name Inkdrop, and it comes waddling when you call. Something shifts. It feels like you're doing more than raising animals. You're weaving them into your story. And that's how naming becomes sacred, not in a religious sense, but in a daily life stringele magical kind of way. Of course, not everyone agrees on the rules. Historians still argue over how widespread this naming system really was. Some say it was limited to certain rice farming regions. Others insist it was common across rural Song and Ming communities. But no one disputes one thing. People cared enough about their ducks to argue about what to call them. And tonight, so do you. You're getting better at this. Your morning walk to the river now includes duck counting, tail feather inspections, and name rehearsals under your breath. You've given names to nearly 20 ducklings in the past 10 days. Not bad for someone who didn't know ducks could even have names last month. But just when you're starting to feel confident, Granny Moo stops you. With a squint, And a question. Did you call that wait, won't you? Ooh, nod, thinking it sounds lovely. It means moon, he snorts. That's your neighbor's old rooster's name. He died of worms. You blink. He continues, waving her hand like she's brushing flies from her thoughts. Names carry weight. You don't just grab a word you like and slap it on a duck. That's how curses happen, or at the very least confusion. Oh, now you have to go back and rename your moon duck. Ooh, sit under the jujube tree rubbing your temples. It's not that you're out of ideas. It's that the names you can use are rapidly shrinking. Turns out, in this village, there are entire lists of names you're not allowed to touch. Some are off-limits because they're too noble. Names like Zhen or you are considered too lofty for a duck, even a handsome one. Others are banned because of old gossip, failed harvests, or tragic accidents. You learn the hard way when you try naming a particularly spirited duckling Fei, thinking it sounds light and bouncy. Old Man Wenlin nearly chokes on his congee when he hears it. That was the name of his first love. She eloped with a tofu seller in the winter of 1318. He's never forgiven either of them. So much for Fei. Ooh, try asking your neighbor's granddaughter for help. She's 8, fearless, and carries ducks around like soft melons. She suggests names based on personality. One duck that spins in circles becomes whirly. Another who bites everyone's toes is called ouch. Simple, but weirdly effective. Try this approach and start assigning names based on behavior. Sleeper, nibbler, grumpy. The ducks respond. More importantly, you remember them. But some elders frown at this method. Naming by behavior, they say, lacks formality. It's not how it's done. You nod politely but keep using your system. After all, if it works, it works. Still, you're curious about the old method. Oh, you visit the duck name wall. Was a bamboo board behind the temple, faded with age and covered in brush-written characters. Every month, names of newly born ducks are posted here for 3 days, mostly to avoid duplicates. You scan the names. Some are poetic, spring drizzle, soft cotton, early leaf. Others are practical, third egg, small one, not that one. Few are completely baffling. Radish ghost, crying fire. 7 rice bowls. You don't ask. Instead, you start keeping your own little name scroll, folded neatly into your sleeve. It's your personal duck census. Name, hatch date, parent ducks if known. Not everyone does this, but you feel like you should. The more you learn, the more you realize that a duck's name is a kind of history, a thread that ties the present to everything that came before it. Later that evening, you sit by the pond and watch your flock settle under the orange-pink sky. You call out 3 names softly, and 3 ducks paddle toward you without hesitation. It feels like magic, but not the fairy tale kind. The kind that grows slowly from repetition, patience, and a whole lot of feeding. You start to wonder whether names matter to the ducks, or just to the people. There's no clear answer. Scholars believe names were mostly functional, easier for humans to track, train, or trade. Others argue names reflected an emotional bond, especially in tight-knit villages. There's even a theory that ducks recognize their names over time, responding not just to tone, but to specific syllables. Then again, some researchers claim ducks only care if you're holding food. Honestly, it's probably both. What matters is that you care, and that, in this little corner of the world, is enough. You sit in the shade of the mulberry tree, watching ducks waddle across the courtyard like little emperors on parade. Your favorite one, the scrappy brown duckling with the bent toe, is now officially called Bean, and only inside the village. To the market, he has a different name. You're told this is important, essential, even, because naming ducks isn't just about calling them. It's about protecting them from envy, from theft, from bad luck. Ranny Mew explains it with her usual sigh. All duck's house name is for the family. Once it enters the world, it needs a travel name, market name. Sometimes even a second travel name if it's going this way. No outsider can trace your duck back to you, at least, not easily. Ooh, ask why anyone would steal a duck. She looks at you like you just fell out of a tree. Ucks are money. Ducks are luck. Ucks are marriage dowry and New Year dishes and borrowed debts. A duck can vanish and reappear in the next county with a new name and no one would know, lest they remember the sound of its call. Oh, you learn the rules again. House names are soft and familiar. Market names are sharper, more practical. Even have numbers. Redux, lack back, well feathers, aims that mean nothing unless you raise the duck yourself. Sometimes the duck's name is also a signal. Code. Market. Someone asks you if your duck is called Old Clow Blink. That's not what you call him. But the name is a hint. It means the duck is past its prime. Off meat, oozed for soup, better for broth than for roasting. Another name, Bright Eyes, means fresh. Another, Yellow Belly, means the duck was corn-fed. Start hearing all kinds of names are real. Our smoke screens, raiders play language games like chess. You try naming one of your duck's big treasure. Ranny Moo nearly drops her bowl. Don't name a duck big treasure unless you're ready to be robbed. Worse. Laughter by every seller in 3 villages. You try again. This time, you go with Mud Spot. That sounds ugly, but somehow it works. One wants to steal a duck called Mud Spot, which makes it the perfect name. Realize something strange. Giving a duck a humble name might actually protect us, like some families give their children bad-sounding names to confuse evil spirits. Little duck with a name like Fat Tail is more likely to live a long life than one named Golden Jade. You're starting to see the pattern. Aims are more than words. They are shields, sometimes disguises. Historians still argue whether this naming system was formal or just local folklore. Some think it developed alongside duck trading routes in the lower Yangtze. Others believe it came from superstition mixed with merchant code. But either way it worked. Take Bean to the market the next morning. Tie a red thread loosely around his leg. It means he's not for sale. The old woman who runs the oil stand winks at you. He calls him Lucky Stripe. Was not his name, but maybe it is now. Walk home with Bean sitting in your basket. He nibbles at your sleeve. Whisper his names one by one. House name, market name, secret name. Manty blinks at you content. I've started to understand what they meant. Aims are layers. Each one tells a story only you and the duck will ever fully know. 2 is your 3rd week in the village. Now you can tell when a duck is about to sneeze. N, it is hiding an egg, and when it is pretending to limp just to get your attention. At this morning something new happens. Dul Jin, the beekeeper, calls you over with a crooked finger. He does not talk much, so when he speaks you listen. He hands you a scroll, not a fancy one, just rice paper rolled around a twig. Open it, inside are names, hundreds of them written in columns, each one paired with a season and a date. Ask, what is this? He replies, a duck genealogy. First you laugh, think he is joking, and you see it, a structure, a names passed down in order, as like people do, rate grandparents, grandparents, siblings, spring. Duck has a name, time, a parent. Even of notes, lure away at the mayor, aid 2 yolks in 1 egg. Realize, this is not just a list, it is a history. Jin tells you. Families keep these for decades, only for a few years, the idea is the same. Remember who came from whom, keep the names honest, to avoid duplication, maybe, just maybe. To carry on the luck, there is something else too, system. He points out the naming order. On generation uses nature words, like river or cloud. Next uses food words, like chestnut or bean paste. Another uses numbers, first feather, second wing, and it circles back or head spins a little, but you are fascinated. So you decide to make one for your own ducks, get a scrap of cloth and a bit of charcoal, write the first line, Modian. Hatched in late summer, other unknown, other possibly green tail. You keep writing, bean hatched mid-autumn, errants unknown, likes to chew on door frames. Start to enjoy it, the rhythm of writing, the sound of charcoal on fabric, the feeling that you are catching time before it slips. At evening, Granny Moo sees you writing and nods slowly. He does not say anything. But later she leaves a bundle on your doorstep. Inside is old ink, a brush, and 2 duck feathers tied with red string. Take it as a sign, somewhere deep down. Start to think of your ducks not just as animals, but as characters in a long, slow story. It chapters and family drama and ancient grudges over spilled grain. Name a new duckling Little Bell, 'cause it chirps like one. Write it down carefully, under the column marked spring. 80 you ask, other villages do this too? The answer is not simple. Historians say duck genealogies were common in rice-growing regions, especially where ducks were passed between generations. Others believe it was rare. Quirk of certain clans, till people agree it existed. In quiet corners like this, where nothing moves fast, except ducks chasing beans. Roll up your scroll and tuck it into your sleeve. Tomorrow there will be more ducklings or names, more stories. And now you are ready. Today is the 7th day of the lunar month. Villagers call it Duck Name Day. Do not know why it always falls on the 7th. Someone tells you it is because 7 is the number of luck. Someone else says it is because ducks usually hatch after 28 days. The 7th is a good time to decide if they are worth naming at all. The way a courtyard is full of people. Stand in a circle with your neighbors. Each person holds a duckling in their arms, wrapped in cloth, peeking from baskets, just tucked inside wide sleeves like little secrets. The center of the group is a big wooden basin. It is not for washing. It is the naming bowl. Watchers one by one. People step forward, hold their duck over the bowl, say the name out loud, then drip a bit of river water on its beak. This is the ritual name water release. 2 is simple, but it feels strange, almost sacred. Granny Moo says the water is from the same stream where the ducks will swim. The name and the place become tied, like thread around a finger. Ask if everyone has to do it. He says no. But if you skip it, might end up with a nameless duck. Nameless ducks. LA tend to wander off. Watch old Jin go next. He names his duck Son of Snow. A duck sneezes as the water hits its beak. Everyone laughs. He bows slightly and walks away. And it is your turn. A duck is nervous. You are nervous too. You whisper the name first to see how it sounds if a foot. Then you say it louder. The name echoes in the bowl, oft but solid. Drop the water on its beak. It blinks, then nibbles your finger. The crowd claps once. That means the name is accepted. Step back into the circle, heart pounding. If you just passed an exam you did not study for, some villagers name 2 ducks at once. Some argue over spelling. Man tries to name his duck after a famous poet. It is told the name is too long. Someone else names their duck after a cousin objects loudly. You start to notice patterns. Some names are beautiful, are ridiculous, but every name means something to someone. When the name Noodleface, specially Noodleface, and it is all done. Scroll keeper takes down the names carefully in rows. Realize there is no prize for best name. Punishment for a bad one. A ritual is not about judgment. 2 is about attention. You cared enough to name something. That is the point. 80 you ask if this event happens every month. The answer is yes, every 7th, as long as ducks are being born. Historians are not sure when the tradition started. Some think it came from the old duck farming guilds. Others believe it grew out of temple offerings. Air ducks were given names before being released. No one can agree. That is fine. You do not need agreement to feel the meaning. At evening, you call Riverfoot. It waddles over without hesitation. Not because it knows the name, because it knows your voice. But part of you believes it knows both. The rain starts before dawn, oft at first, and heavy. Heavy it sounds like 1,000 tiny hooves on your roof. Wake to the smell of wet thatch and old straw. Ducks are restless. Some flap against the coop door. Just stare at the grey sky like they understand something you do not. Today is rainwater, one of the 24 solar terms. The elders say this day marks the proper end of winter. This is a time of wet fields and muddy shoes and quiet planting. Twi is also an important day for naming. Grab your coat, tuck 3 ducklings into a basket and head out at the riverbank. Meet 4 other villagers, all here for the same reason. They each carry ducks, all born within the last 2 nights, without names. Granny Moo arrives last. She is dry. It seems impossible. He always walks like the rain avoids her out of respect. He sets up the naming stone, a flat piece of limestone, nothing special. Except it only comes out on days like this. He gestures for the first villager to speak. He steps forward, holds out a duck, and says the name. It'll thunder. The duck wiggles. Someone laughs. Next is a quiet girl from the east path. Her duck is nearly all white. She names it Frosty Foot, not because of the color, but because she found it sleeping in the cold ashes of the stove this morning. And it is your turn. Ooh, pick up the smallest duck, its feathers still a bit damp. Ooh, name it, Miss Tail. The name feels right, short, soft, little strange. Granny Moo gives a small nod. That is all you need. It is all done, a stone is lifted, to names are remembered, and everyone walks home a little wetter, but also a little more connected. Back at your shed, ooh, take out your name scroll. Ooh, write Miss Tail, on rainwater, in the clutch, Ike's to peck at buttons. Ooh, are getting better at the 8 of that evening. Ooh, Irana, 'tis old Gin. He asks if you noticed anything about the names today. Ooh, think for a moment and you say, all sound like weather. E nods. There is a pattern, and a duck is born during our solar terms. Name often reflects the sky. Ain, wind, mist, sun, for names like Drizzleback and Dewar have appeared over the years. Ooh, realize, naming is not just personal, too is seasonal, eye to the world outside, eye to the fields, a rivers, a moon. Historians still puzzle over this. Some claim the practice began as a farming calendar. Others think it came from poetry. And some say it was just habit, passed down from hands too old to remember the origin. Whatever the reason makes sense to you now, a world leaves its mark on each duck. Why not let the name reflect it? As the rain slows, you sit near the coop. His tail sleeps curled in a broken basket. Ooh, whisper the name once, just to feel how it sounds again. Fitz. Ooh, name the duck San Yang, third lady. It's not the kind of name you plan to give a duck. It sounds too formal, too elegant. Like someone who wears silk shoes and speaks in riddles. But the name came to you suddenly, when you saw her standing alone on the stone edge of the pond, staring at the reflection of the clouds as if they owed her money. An Yang is different. She doesn't peck at rice like the others. She picks it, slow and deliberate. She doesn't run when dogs bark. She just tilts her head, watches, waits. Then goes back to what she was doing. You tell Granny Moo I think she thinks she's a person, Granny Moo snorts. More likely she thinks you're the duck. Till the name sticks, San Yang. You start saying it with a little more care, like it deserves space. Not everyone agrees with your choice. He sounds too refined, one farmer mutters. You'll spoil her. That's a wife's name, another says, frowning. Too grown up for a bird. You shrug. Maybe she is grown up. Ooh, don't tell them what you're really thinking. And Yang feels like someone important, someone you used to know in another life, someone who came back as a duck just to watch over your messy little yard. Or not the only one who notices. At the market, a seller points at her. Ritty Feathers. What's her name? You hesitate, then say Little Bean. He nods and moves on. You lied. On purpose. And Yang has her market name too. But you don't like using it. It feels wrong. Like calling a queen by a nickname she hates. But you've learned your lesson. Fancy names at the market invite trouble. An Yang is too special for that. One afternoon, you find her sitting beside your sandals, quiet and still. You crouch down. She doesn't flinch. You say her name. She looks up. Blinks once. Ooh, say it again. San Yang, and she waddles forward, just a step, like she's answering. That's when it hits you. The name isn't just for you to call her. It's for her to call herself in whatever language ducks use when they dream. Later, you bring this up with old Gin. Ooh, you think ducks know their names? You ask. He leans on his walking stick, chewing a reed. Do, some don't care. That's helpful, Ames. He says, I like shoes. Fit some feet, fall off others. Historians still debate this question. Do ducks recognize specific syllables? Is it the tone? The repetition? Some believe trained ducks in the Song dynasty could follow named commands, like come, turn, or wait. Others argue those were just food signals. But in this village, no one cares much what scholars say. They believe what they see. And what you see is San Yang standing still listening every time you call her. Ooh, update the scroll. San Yang, on late spring feather pattern. Grey with bronze edges, behavior, observant, notes, dislikes cabbage stems. Ooh, add a little flower sketch beside her name. Just because. As the sun sets, you sit on the stone step and watch her lead a row of younger ducks to the water. like a teacher, or a priestess, or a very tired aunt. You feel proud. Not because you named her, because you noticed her. That's something worth remembering. You reach the town market just after dawn. The street is already buzzing with voices, clinking pans, and the unmistakable sound of a goat arguing with its owner. You pull your cart gently, making sure the ducks in their baskets don't jostle too much. San Yang rides up front, calm as ever, eyes scanning the world like she's royalty being wheeled through the countryside. You're not here to sell today, not yet, or here to listen. The market, everyone speaks in codes. You pass a man holding a woven cage and hear him whisper, 1 golden beak, strong legs, 7 grains daily. The buyer nods, but doesn't answer. He pulls out a duck with a lopsided wing and says, name's Half Moon. The seller raises an eyebrow. That's a warning. It means the duck tires quickly. Another stall advertises 3 pebbles, all brothers, eat clean. You don't know what that means, but a woman nearby mutters, sounds like they're from Mud Village. She walks away without buying. Names at the market aren't just names, they're messages. Sometimes they're lies. Ooh, see a duck called Oil Feather. You ask why. A seller shrugs, makes it sound glossy. Is it glossy? No. The name helps. Ooh, chuckle, but you also make a mental note. Today's about more than ducks. It's about language, power, presentation. Ooh, try it out. The curious boy points to San Yang and asks what's her name. You smile. Puddle 2. He giggles. That's silly. Exactly. Ooh, don't want anyone here to know her real name. Not because you're hiding her, but because names at the market are like armor. They protect the soft bits underneath. Later, a man from another village asks if you've heard of a duck called Bent Rice. You pause. That name is from your side of the valley. Duck named that was stolen last season. You glance around, quietly say she was returned. Bit the thief's nose. He nods, impressed. The name travels faster than feathers in the wind. You also hear code names for duck breeds. Yellow dust means grainft. River voice means the duck quacks too much. Ironback means it has a strong body but a sharp temper. Some names are meant to charm. Others are subtle warnings. All lean into one conversation. Hot a snow toe here. Real sweet. What'd she eat? Doesn't matter. Name's lucky enough. All raise an eyebrow. That's bold. Relying on let instead of feed. Risky. Old Jin once told you, name at home is for love. A name in the market is for survival. He was right. Ooh, think about your own market names. Bean became Small Tail. Miss Tail became Nothing Special. Somehow, those names made the ducks easier to sell. People didn't expect too much, and those who saw past the name, well, they deserved the duck. Historians have written a few papers about this practice. They call it semantic shielding, the idea that names in public spaces become tools of trade, not expressions of identity. But most of those historians have never actually tried to sell a duck. You have, and you know the truth. A bad name can save a good duck. At the end of the day, you pack up your cart and head home. San Yang is still calm, still silent. But you think she understands what happened today. She wasn't sold, she wasn't even offered. She was watched, weighed, named, and then protected. Who whispered to her on the way back? Or real names too good for that place. He blinks once, closes her eyes, naps the whole ride home. Who wake before the sun. Tuskegee is still dark blue like wet linen left out overnight. You grab a lantern, your straw sandals, and the tiny cloth pouch where you keep your duck name scroll. Today, you're visiting a different part of the valley, a place people call the Wind Elbow. I've heard the rumors. Ducks raise their taste better, their eggs are richer, their feet are tougher. Some say it's the water, others say it's the wind, but a few whisper it's the names. Yes, the names. You arrive just as the mist is peeling off the grass. A woman greets you with a nod. She's thin, has eyes like glass beads, and carries a duck under each arm like grocery bags. Looking for duck names, she asks. You nod. He doesn't invite you in. She just starts walking toward the pond. You'll want to see the map. A map is not on paper. It's not even really a map. It's a patch of dirt under a pine tree where someone has drawn circles, lines, and symbols using twigs and ash. Every circle represents a household. Each line connects a duck to a name. Some lines are faint, some are thick and fresh. The whole thing looks like a spiderweb that remembers stories. E taps a spot near the edge. It's his red ditch. Ducks from here get names with sharp vowels. Bitey names. We call that windcut. She points to the center. It is the willow hollow. Ducks from there always get soft names, open sounds. We call that water drift. Ooh, ask why the names vary by place. She shrugs. Because ducks grow differently in different winds. You call them wrong, they won't come. You cook them wrong, they taste like leather. I'm not sure how much of that is science, but you write it down anyway. Later, you see it for yourself. Boy calls luo, and 3 ducks come running from the west side. Another girl shouts tack, and a single white one charges in from the north, eyes full of purpose. You try calling one yourself. It doesn't budge. A woman explains, wrong rhythm. That name only works near pine trees. Ooh, laugh. But she's serious. Some names just work better in certain winds, certain smells, certain sun angles. He calls this feng shui naming, wind and water naming. Historians have dismissed the idea. They call it superstition, or coincidence, or just poetic nonsense. But others believe there's something deeper here, a pattern too subtle to measure, too old to trace. You're starting to believe it too. Before you leave, the woman gives you a name to try. Ahua, she says. It means tea flower. She tells you to whisper it during a breeze. You do. That evening, back at your farm, you find a young duck circling near the pond. One you didn't raise. It looks up when you say the name. Chahua waddles over, slowly, as if it recognizes something. Ooh, blink. Smile. Maybe the wind carried the name. Maybe it carried the duck. Either way, you write it down. Ahoa, unknown origin, responds to wind. Ike's water weeds, possibly magic. Ooh, fold your scroll, tuck it into your sleeve, and light a single candle. The air is quiet. Even San Yang seems to sleep more deeply tonight. Ooh didn't mean to start a naming trend. But somehow you did. To begins innocently. One morning, a neighbor asks if you still have that duck named Inching Drop. You nod. He nods back. 2 days later, he names his duck Brushstroke. An old gin hears about your duck Miss Tail and decides to name his new drake Fogfoot. The next week, someone introduces you to a duck called Poem Egg. That one's a stretch, you think, but it's oddly charming. Ooh, notice it more and more. Ducks named not just for behavior or weather, but for mood, for beauty, for something softer, something more personal. You hear names like Quiet Wing, Late Morning, and even Almost Rain. You wonder if this is what happens when people start to pay attention. It spreads. The village edge, a girl carves a name into a piece of driftwood and ties it to her duck's leg with blue thread. The name is Stay. He doesn't explain why. She doesn't need to. You keep walking, unsure whether to laugh or tear up a little. In your scroll, you start a new section. You call it the feeling names. These aren't practical. They're not marketisted, but they seem to work. More than that, they feel alive. Ranny Moon notices. She reads your scroll one afternoon, squinting through her cracked lenses. She doesn't say much. Just hands you a brush with a better tip and a fresh ink cake. All doing it right, she murmurs. At night, you sit by the pond and think about how strange this all is. You came here not knowing ducks had names. Now your ducks have family trees, personality notes, and poetic aliases. And Yang watches you from the coop door. She looks proud. You start naming new ducklings with a different rhythm now. Less about sound, more about sensation. Little one keeps slipping into the pond too early. You call her impatient. Another sleeps through everything, even thunder. You name him Drift. Air's one that always looks confused. You call her Why. That one gets a lot of laughs. I've started noticing that people walk slower near their ducks now. They speak to them more. They lean in when they call. Not because they expect a reply, but because they like how the names sound. Somewhere in the process, the whole village seems to soften. Then the market changes a little. Sellers use gentler names, almost musical. You hear someone calling out, fresh from the stream, river bell, and cloud stripe. It sounds like a poem disguised as a price list. Ooh, wonder how long this will last. Maybe only for a season. Maybe longer. Historians wouldn't write about this. There are no scrolls to cite, no official records for duck name renaissance. But you know it happened, and maybe that's enough. On evening, a traveler passes through. He sees your ducks, reads a few names from your scroll, and chuckles. These aren't farm names, he says. They're lullabies. Ooh, smile. You don't correct him, because secretly, you hope he's right. You hope someone, somewhere, names their duck Sleepy Feather because they heard about it here. Ooh, hope the story drifts on the way ducks do without needing permission. You're halfway through your evening rice when a knock rattles the wooden door. Ooh, open it, chopsticks still in hand. It's the school teacher, thin, polite, always smells faintly of ink and river mud. He holds a small clay bowl in one hand, and in the bowl is a duckling. I heard you're the one who names them now, he says. Ooh, blink. Not officially. But still, he adds, pushing the bowl gently toward you, this one needs a name. A duckling is pale yellow, barely fluff, with eyes like sleepy ink dots. It's not the first time someone's brought you a nameless duck, but it is the first time someone called you the one who names them. Ooh, place the bowl on your lap. The duckling sneezes. Has he done anything strange, you ask? Not really. He just keeps trying to climb things. Ooh, nod, already thinking. I've named ducks after sounds, colors, seasons, moods, shadows, vegetables. Forgotten songs now you're naming for ambition. Look at the little climber. How about mountain? The teacher tilts his head. Too heavy. And pebble, pause. Then he grins. Perfect. Ooh, write it down, carefully, on a clean strip of cloth. Pebble. Hatched this morning, limer, soft feet, mild sneezes. The teacher thanks you and walks off into the dusk, carrying Pebble like a lantern. At night, you think about names as gifts. They are not property, not titles. They are offerings. Name says, I saw you. I noticed. In the morning, you find a small gift at your door, a feather pen, carved by hand, and a note. Other name maker. Ooh, don't know who left it. Ooh, don't need to. Later that week, a boy comes by with a duck he found near the old granary. No one claimed it. No tags, no marks. Just a quiet duck with a tired look. What do we call it, he asks. Ooh, sit down beside the duck. Watch it for a while's calm, still, doesn't flinch at loud sounds. When the wind blows, it lowers its head and waits instead of running. You whisper lanternstone. A boy blinks. That's not even a word. Do is now. He shrugs, grinning. All right. Or add it to your scroll under a new section you've started calling foundlings. Ducks with unclear pasts, stray feathers, lost names. Villagers tease you for being too poetic. You're naming them like stars, they say. You smile and reply, maybe stars are just ducks with good marketing. Rannimoo hears that and nearly spits her tea. But you notice something interesting. The more names you give, the more careful people become. Woman stops calling her duck that loud thing and switches to morning voice. Boy who used to call his pair lunch and dinner now calls them stripe and dot. Don't lecture anyone. You never ask for changes. But names, you've learned, are sticky. They rub off on behavior. Sometimes they even change it. Historians talk about naming as control, that to name something is to own it. Others, the ones you like more, say that to name something is to care for it, or offer it a place in your world. At evening, you add the new names to your scroll. Ooh, light a candle. Say them out loud once, then blow it out. Ooh, sleep well. You dream of ducks with glowing footprints. Today starts with feathers in the well. Ooh, I'm not sure how they got there. Maybe the wind. Maybe a clumsy duck with a poor sense of boundaries. Either way, you fish them out with a ladle, shake them dry, and add them to your collection. You have a feather collection now, each one tied to a name, a memory, a little scribble in your scroll. You didn't plan for this, but now it feels necessary. Like each duck leaves behind a thread, and you're slowly weaving them into something bigger. At afternoon, the potter comes by. He's never brought a duck before. He places a box on your table. Inside is a ceramic duck, perfectly shaped, glazed in soft greens and browns. He clears his throat. I'd like to name it. You blink. It's not real. He nods, but it feels like it could be. Ooh, tilt your head, studying the little statue. It has round eyes, a slightly smug beak. You think for a while, then say earthen. He repeats it, earthen. He smiles. Yes. Ooh, don't write it in your main scroll. But you start a new one that evening, a short one, just for things that look like ducks, or feel like ducks. You call it almost Ranny Moo rolls her eyes when she sees it. Or naming pots now? Duck-shaped ones, you reply. She mutters something about madness. But later you catch her tracing the edge of the little ceramic bird and whispering, "Hello, Earthen." At night you lie awake thinking, names used to feel like tools. Now they feel like stories, short ones, open-ended, waiting to be finished by whoever says them next. I've started seeing ducks differently too. Not just what they are, but what they suggest. One waddles with a rhythm that reminds you of a temple bell. You name her Ding. Another refuses to walk in a straight line. Ever, you name him Zig. And then there's the one that follows you, always 4 steps behind. No matter where you go. You try ignoring him, changing your route, hiding. Doesn't matter, 4 steps behind always. You name him Echo, or, I'm not sure he even knows his name. But it feels right when you say it. "Co," you whisper. "Let's go." He waddles along 4 beats late. Ooh, add them all to your scroll. Ding, orcs with solemn rhythm, responds to temple bells. Voids running. Zig predictable, refuses symmetry, loves shadows. Co follows without asking, never first, never last. You realize you're no longer just cataloging ducks. Ooh, a cataloging presence. Historians sometimes write about ancient Chinese naming systems, lineage, tone marks, generational poems. But none of them ever mention what happens when you name a duck after a sound it doesn't make, or a shape it almost resembles, or a silence it keeps perfectly. You don't expect they ever will. And that's fine. You're not writing for them, you're writing for yourself, for the ducks, and for whoever comes next. Asking quietly, "What is this one called?" Because now you always have an answer. The first time a scholar visits, you think he's lost. He arrives with a stack of books strapped to a donkey, wears shoes too clean for this village, and says things like phenomenological implications before breakfast. You offer him tea. He accepts, but only if the cup is unglazed. Whatever that means. He's come to study your duck names. Word has spread somehow through a merchant, a traveling monk, maybe just the wind. Either way, he's here now, notebook open, eyes wide behind little round spectacles. I heard, he says, you've developed a taxonomy. Ooh, blink. A what? A structure. A system, possibly even a cultural syntax. Ooh, pour more tea. I just call them things. He nods. Exactly. You show him your scroll. He flips through it carefully, mouth twitching slightly with each label. Lanternstone, Zig, these are emotionally coded. You don't really know what that means, but you nod anyway. Feels polite. He stays for 3 days. Follows you around the village. Asks questions like, how do you define identity in a non-verbal subject? And do you believe a duck can reject a name? Ooh, tell him about Sanyang, about Echo, about the one duck who refuses to respond to anything unless you sing it. Ooh, call that one whatever. He writes the down in all capital letterlen. The last D observes the naming of a new clutch. A quiet ceremonious dew, the wind. A bowl of river water. And 3 sleepy ducklings. Name them Candle, Forget, and Yawn. He gasps quietly at that warn. He repeat at S exquisites you, not sure if he means the name or the duck. But you thank him anyway. And now you hear him whispering names to himself as he walks back toward the main road. He is not writing anymore, is just saying them out loud. Yawn. Oh, Fogfoot. You think maybe he's fallen a little in love with the language too. A few days late letter arrives. Hand delivered by a boy who says he was paid in dried plums. The letter is from the scholar. He writes, "Up ye done is not simply rural custom, it is a living archive of attention. A soft rebellion against forgetting." You read that 3 times. Then you fold it and tuck it between your scroll pages. Ooh, da really care about being written into history, but it's nice to know someone noticed. Ranny Moo reads the letter twos, snorts, says, "Scholar types always show up late. Ducks were naming us long before we named them. Ooh, think about that baby, she, Sry. Baby Echo followed you not because you named him, but because he already knew you. Oh, you sit down and add a new note to the scroll, rare one. Me, feeds ducks, sits by water, listens well, till learning you look out at the coop. A duck's a sleepy one of them snores. Ooh, I know which one. Some hat makes you love them even more. There's a duck that never got a name. Ooh, Triance called it button because it was small and round and seemed to hold everything together. Somehow, but it didn't. Stick. Not even for a day. Ooh tried a carrot, then turnip, then maybe, but nothing felt quite right. Every time you whispered a name, a duck would blink one and walk away, not offended, just uninterested. Ooh started calling at that one. People asked why. You shrugged. Till decided eeks passed. Ease shift the ducks came and went. Some grew into their names, some shed them like old feathers. Not this what stayed the same. Wirescent, unnamed. You thought about letting it stay that way, until the evening San Yang disappeared. Was pseudo warning. One moment she was there, preening in the sunlight, the next, gone, no feathers, no trail, just silence. You looked everywhere. All her name more times than you could count. Isbert outed it. Aited for that familiar tilt of the he-at slow. Elaborate waddle toward your fear thing. The village tried to comfort you. You wandered, someone said. Snesting another offered. But you knew. An Yang would leave without a look. A blink, a pause. She was a duck of punctuation. If she left, she'd at least leave a comma behind. Or die you barely wrote, the scroll sat untouched. Names floated through your mind like ghosts soft, blurry, incomplete. And one morning, you found that one sitting in the exact spot San Yang used to like. Still, silent, eyes on the mist. Who sat beside Eden? He speak for a long time. Then, quietly, you whispered, "Are you waiting too?" Did he moves just sat with you? Ooh stayed like that until the sun rose high enough to paint gold on the wart. That night, you opened the scroll. You didn't give that one a fancy name. Not a poetic one, not a clever one. Ooh, just rowitness. Ever answer ever left, till when you said it out loud the next day, just once the duck turned its head toward you, as if hearing something it had known all along. Ooh, dee cry, not really. But your voice caught for a second, and you let it. Granny Moo passed by later, saw the entry, and nodded. Name like that, he said, isn't tea for the duck you nodded to. Name like that is for yat evening. Ooh sat by the Pondegayo, names spoken, just presence. To ducks move gently through the reed you could almost hear their thoughts quiet. Slow content you thought of San Yang. Of all the names that had passed through your hands like feathers in the breeze. Ooh did he know if you'd ever see her again? But you knew this much. Eeyore had a name, and somewhere out there, that name was still alive. Ooh, don't realize how many names you've written until the scroll no longer closes. It bulges slightly now, held together with a loop of old twine and a dried gourd weight. Pages feel warm in your hands, even though they're just paper. Maybe it's the ink, maybe it's the memory. Maybe it's the weight of care you sit beneath the old pear tree near the coop. Ducks are scattered around, some asleep, some nibbling at the roots like they know secrets in the soil. Ooh unroll the scroll slower, names blur together at first. Then they immer on by one. Familiar, strange, distant, close, his tail, San Yang, pebble, zig, lanternstone. Your knitness. Ooh say them aloud, one after another, like reciting a poem only you understand. Breeze picks a scroll flutters. One of the younger ducks pecks at the edge, like it wants to add something of its own. Ooh, Smear Boy from the east path comes by, holding a duck in both arms like it's a loaf of bread. He asks if you're still naming. Ooh, sometimes. He sits beside you. It was quiet. See ooh look at the ducket, pale, with a little swirl of brown at the tip of its tail. Its eyes are wide but not afraid. Just noticing, ooh asa does it do? Boy thinks, listens, that's enough. Ooh take your brush, dip it gently and write. Isn't still small watches well, born on a quiet morning. A boy repeats the name, nods, it fits. You hand him the scroll to hold while the ink dries. He holds it carefully, like something sacred. Then he asks, "Ill someone named ducks after we gone?" You pause maybe. Could they? Ooh look at the duck listener, at the pages in your lap. Yes. Ooh's they care, the boy stays quiet for a long time. Then, oftly says, "I think I'll start writing too." You smile. And he leaves, you sit there for a while longer. Odd writing, not speaking, us listening. Later, in the softest part of the evening, you fold the scroll shut. This time, you don't tie it. Ooh, leave it open on the table. Ooh, think maybe it's not done yet. Maybe it never will be. Ow, the village is quiet. The wind hums through the trees like a soft lullaby. The ducks are tucked in their nests, dreams warm and slow, feathers rising and falling with each tiny breath. Ooh are no longer holding a brew or holding stillness. A kind that only comes after saying something true. The kind that doesn't need to be understood to be felt. Somewhere out someone else is whispering a name, maybe it. The name of a doa bee, it's the name of a memory. Maybe it's the name of sleep itself. Maybe that name is floating gently toward you now, soft as mist, light as down, ready to land in your dreams. So for now, close your eyes, let the scroll be. Let the ducks rest and let the names take care of themselves until morning.